It didn't look like the Vols were even in Texas A&M's league on Saturday, but sure enough, they proved they were, and they won not with small ball, but a low score and home runs on Sunday to advance to game 3. But certainly if you're a casual observer and you watched game 1, Caleb, you said to yourself, man, that Orange team's not even in the same league as that A&M team.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I wasn't getting that vibe, though. I was getting the vibe of Tennessee was just not cashing in on opportunities because Tony Vitello, now we can debate on whether or not this was a good or a bad idea. He approached this series as if it was a regular 3-game series for a weekend. He didn't do anything different. And I know they say you're supposed to do that. I feel like if it's baseball, though, you do what the Diamondbacks did in 2001 and just alternate Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson and say, forget the rest of our staff. But that's just me. But
no, I tend to. It's funny you brought that up. I tend to agree with that. Now, if he wins a national title, we're both wrong, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay. But I tend to agree with that. I don't know why, but baseball people tend to get ingrained in traditional thinking. And like Tony Vitello is ahead of the curve. Vitello is ahead of the curve in a lot of ways, but he's just kind of another coach sometimes when it comes to decisions about baseball philosophy, which I kind of respect. He's got that old school to him, even though he looks like Ricardo Montalban in his prime.
So the reason that this stood out to me was because he played with fire in the sense of doing that it was going to give Tennessee advantage as the series extended and as things got deeper. But by the time things got deeper, Tennessee would also maybe be in a hole, at which point the pressure would be magnified. And he didn't worry about and that's exactly what happened, by the way. Tennessee got in a hole. They stranded 8 runners yesterday. And they also, Texas A&M brought in a pitcher with an 8.31 ERA. They were working the Texas A&M pitchers, and you just kept thinking, at some point, this pitch count has to catch up to Texas A&M and their lack of depth, right? At some point.
You would think.
And finally it did in the 7th and the 8th innings with 2 2-run shots to secure the win for Tennessee. But, man, they worked the entire rotation, it felt like, for Texas A&M before they finally were able to cash in on their depth advantage. And that was the problem. And Tony Vitello played with fire doing that. And Cal Stark, who hadn't had a hit the entire College World Series, sends a 2-run shot to extend the lead for Tennessee yesterday. I cannot believe I had to call out a lot of Tennessee fans on Twitter because I cannot believe a lot of them wanted Cal Stark benched because of his lack of offense. Guys, do you not realize how valuable a catcher is for the pitching? Like, a catcher's not there.
It's huge. It should be a coach on the field. I thought that Tony Vitello almost hung with you want to win game 1 a little bit too long. I thought that he should have probably chucked that when they got down by 6 at one point. Correct me if I'm wrong, Caleb. Now they ended up getting within 4. So my logic again is flawed. Tony Vitello was right, because if you can get within 1 swing of the bat, which is 4 runs, right? Theoretically, if you can get within 1 swing of the bat to tie in the game, well, then you play it like it's a regular game. My issue is with when you're down by more than that, I'm probably going to back off, have a pitcher eat up some innings and have a fresh bullpen for the next game. But no matter, he knows more about he's forgotten more about baseball than I know. So hit that like and subscribe button. I think Tennessee is in good hands. You'll be in good hands with Rick Terry Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry. How about the Fire Opals, a Tennessee tradition? RickTerryJewelry.com. RickTerryJewelry.com. Again, click the like and subscribe button. Who has stood out or what has stood out to you to this point? And we open it up to some comments from the message board. Maybe the guys that have stood out are a couple of guys that we really thought would have a major impact. And this on our message board, if Tears and Simo wake up, we will win by 10. What do you make of Tennessee's 2 most explosive players early in the World Series being incredibly average in the finals, Caleb?
I think they've been average partially because, and I can't believe we're criticizing Tony Vitello because you're right, he knows so much more than we do, but I think Tony Vitello overcoached the first game. And Yes, because Josh Reynolds, the A&M pitcher that came in the mid innings, remember, left a lot of balls over the plate that Tennessee struck out looking on, and that was based on the scouting report of his tendency to throw sliders. So Tony Vitello clearly had his players plan to take a lot of pitches because there was the assumption that he was going to throw a lot of sliders. They lost the guessing game. Josh Reynolds hung so many balls over the plate that they could have sent out of the park. And the truth of the matter was, it was because they were anticipating sliders in all of those. And he just hung a ton of fastballs, and they did not cash in. So I think they wouldn't have looked so average if they hadn't, this is a weird thing to say, if they hadn't over-scouted their opponent and their pitchers. Yep. I think that's what cost them.
Boy, by the way, Dylan, I thought nailed it. Infield defense must show up tonight. And there's also a couple of errors in the outfield as well, but I'm more concerned about the infield. And let's talk about what could undermine Tennessee. It's errors, and I don't understand this team at times. Again, we're criticizing a team that's one win away from winning a national championship. So please keep this in perspective and don't get overboard about we're being critical, because I'm not trying to do that. But I will tell you this. Why this team lacks focus in the field is beyond me. If you would have told me they would have made some of the mistakes that they have made throughout the season and the amount of errors and the timely errors, there's no way I would have had them in the finals. But here they are, because I think they're that good in other areas.
Yeah, it's weird because you're right. That's been their one weakness all year. I mean, Tennessee's top 10 in ERA, top 5 in offense. I mean, it's like everything you could ask for, but their fielding percentage, they're outside of the top 50. They're number 51 nationally. Now, that's not bad. I mean, there's a ton of college baseball teams, but when you compare that to what they're good at everywhere else, that's the one thing that could undo them. I think part of this, remember on Saturday, Tony Vitello, again, this was him going as if it's a regular 3-game series. And me and you were thinking, man, don't you want to knock them out in 2 games and take the pressure off? And Tony Vitello's like, I'm going to treat it like a regular series. Part of that was Hunter Inslee's a little banged up. So he says, I'm not going to have Hunter Inslee play center field on the first night because I want him ready to full go on Sunday and Monday if we need him.
But you didn't think for a second. Hold on now. Let me make sure we're on the same page. You didn't think he'd handle it any different, did you? I knew that he was still going to go with the bullpen starting mode mentality on Friday. I knew that, there was somebody who's going to go out there for an inning and a half at most and get knocked out of the game.
Well, yeah. I mean, I knew Tony Vitello was going to do that. That's how he approaches everything. And that's always been his philosophy. But the Hunter Inslee thing did cost Tennessee a little bit in the field on Saturday when Chapman was in right field and made a comedy of errors.
But I'm talking about the pitching. You didn't think that he was getting back to pitching. You didn't think he was going to switch up anything. I mean,
No. I didn't think he was going to switch up anything. I was just talking about the reason they made those errors. Tennessee wins the game Saturday without those 3 errors. And this series is over. I mean, Tennessee's already national champs. It's because they had issues in right field, because they had tiers in center field, because he wanted to save Hunter Inslee, because Hunter Inslee was banged up and he wanted him 100% in center field on Sunday and Monday. That was Tony Vitello. My mind is, no, get him out there early and you can end the series early. And I mean, you don't want to dig the 1-0 hole.
Let me ask you this question. And it's brought to you by our good friends at Banks and Jones. Which team, based off 2 games, do you think is better? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. I'll be the first to say I don't know A&M like I know Tennessee, because I've seen all of Tennessee's games. I haven't seen all of A&M's games. but I think Tennessee is a better baseball team because their pitching in these type of series is backloaded. Now, A&M might have something, Caleb, that I don't know about. Okay, they might have I know their staff's great and deep, but I believe simple question, easy answer, maybe long-winded answer. Tennessee is the better team. Who is the better team? I ask you, Caleb. Today's tough question.
I think ever so slightly Tennessee is the better team. If both teams were healthy, I think A&M would be the better team. But with A&M banged up, they have one of their best pitchers out. They have one of their everyday starters out. I mean, they're fully healthy. A&M, I think, is slightly better having watched this team. And look, Tennessee's deeper in the pitching rotation, but let's be honest, Dave. A&M's pitchers have some nasty stuff, don't they?
Oh, they do. Yeah. And somebody told me that really knows college baseball. I think I mentioned it last week on the show, that watch for A&M's pitching. I mean, that's the scary part. It's kind of like playing a goalie, a great goalie in hockey that's red hot. You could go out there and go against a great pitching staff and swing a good bat and have a good eye and still lose. I mean, if the stuff's that nasty, it happens. So we'll see what happens tonight.